Hey, good afternoon. This is XX Guy here. I'm going to show you the importance of changing your clutch fluid and brake fluid every 2 years. Uh, Maybe out west it's not so important if you're in a really dry area. But some of the little hacks I got are I steal a garbage bag from my wife's kitchen and I start stretching it over the top and put a little hole in it and I stretch it over and it gets tight right here. Now I've got this protective apron to catch any fluids that might get on my paint. Okay, therefore I don't have a ruined paint job. I learned about that on a 74 Gremlin back in 76 when I started driving. I was doing some stuff and my dad did not like it that I put a groove in his paint back when it was just enamel too. Also, see how dark this is. Oop, starting to see how dark that is. And then you can see some of this, well, I'll show you later, but some of the slurry that's down in there in the very bottom. Now this bike is only got 300 miles last year, 300 miles the year before that, and a bunch of miles on the third year back, and it's going to get a bunch of miles this year. But before I do that, I just put a new rear tire on it, cleaned it up. Now I got to change the brake fluid, and I'm going to show you how I do that. I have a Mighty Vac pump, and I slurp out everything out of the reservoir first. And can you see? Oh, I just drained it down there. But it's murky and got a lot of fog in it. So I get it drained down just like that. And you can see some of the brown sludge on the bottom. Not very good. So now I'm going to clean that out with a lint-free rag. And the little window right here, I usually shove my lint-free rag down in there and I squirt in there with some like brake fluid. I'm not brake fluid. You can flush it out with brake fluid, which may be best, but I just give it a quick little squirt of brake cleaner and it all goes in my rag. And then I'll fill this up with clean fluid. Okay, and one of the things is on all my bleeders, okay, you notice they don't look like regular bleeders. They're a little longer because these are speed bleeders. Okay, so I've got a speed bleeder bag and I'll fill this up after I get that all clean. And then I'll just pull the lever nice and slow. I'll pump that clean fluid all the way through and out. And I'll have a light behind my hose so I can see when clean fluid starts coming in, and then I consider that flushed. Okay, so now I got that cleaned out pretty good. See a little drain from that window. I'll get that. So I suck it out with a Mighty Vac, and then I get my lint-free shop rag. Make sure they're lint-free, something like a blue towel, shop towel, not a paper towel, because a paper towel will leave lint in here. Okay, once I do that, I use the good old Q-tips. But what you got to do and understand is don't scrub with the Q-tip, because that's kind of a rougher surface in there, and it will start unraveling the Q-tip, and you don't want to leave any cotton strip in there. So just dab and absorb with the Q-tip. Okay. Now just use this, a light little squirt, barely anything, and I always jam that in there and make sure that's clear. Everything absorbed into the lint-free shop towel. And as you can see, I didn't get any fluid down in the bottom there. But it is cleaner in there now. There's no brown stuff. And for a 25-year-old bike, that's about as clear as you're going to get it. I should have somebody put some new windows in it. I know a place that can do it. But I can still see through it. It's not all opaque yet. So now it's time to fill that up. I'm going to turn my handlebars full left to level that reservoir as much as possible. When I'm done, I'll fill it up right about to that line. That's where I always go to. And let's go on to the next stage. Okay, here's another beauty about speed bleeders. Okay, they're just a little check valve. You see, 8mm wrench. This is my CBR 1100 XX. And I'll just pop it open, quarter or a little more, right? So I got this speed bleeder bag attached. And then I got a hose, and here's the bag down here. Okay. I put a little light behind it so I can see the fluid. And then I'll just take my lever up here and just pump it slowly until I start seeing dark fluid and then clear fluid in my hose down here. But all important, you better watch your reservoir level because you do not want to suck air into it. And if you have a linked braking system like on a Honda, one reason you want to do this is there's a secondary master cylinder right up here. Okay, has very fine orifice in it for return off your rear brake. If you find your rear brake starting to seize up when you're gone a couple miles, that's clogged up because your return line off your rear caliper is clogged, can't release it, so it'll start binding on your rear wheel. But if you change every 2 years, you don't have to take this apart. And this has been 3 years, so hopefully I caught it in time. I don't have to take that apart. But that's open. I'm not sucking any air in. And now I'll just sit here like this and just slowly pump. See, it just popped. Go slow. Now let's see what we got over here. Starting to have some fluid push up all the way through here. Yep, and now the fluid's all the way over to here. I usually like to have it come up like this somehow, but I'm holding the phone instead. So okay, you probably can't see it, but I got fluid all the way to this point. And it's an amber dark fluid. Camera doesn't really show it that well. But what I'll do, I'll put a couple reservoirs through here, and then that should be a clear. And then I know I've completely got the old stuff out of that caliper over there. Can you guys see that tiny little micro bubble right there? No, you can't. Let's try to get close. Okay, let's watch it move. Let me find it again. I'm just going to squeeze that lever and see how it's moving down the line. And then I release the lever and nothing comes back. It stays right about here. And I'm starting to get clear fluid already. I've just pumped 1.5 reservoirs through there. Okay, I've got about 2.5 reservoirs. You know, there's my bag just hanging there. So, beauty of speed bleeders is I just come over here. That's all clear fluid coming out of there. I just tighten up. Book says 4 pounds, which is nothing. And then I get my bag and I lay it down below, and I just kind of bend it down and pull it off. And then I drain it into the bag. No mess, no sucked in air. And then I take my wrench off. 8mm wrench, by the way, for Hondas anyway. And I put the cap back on, if I don't know if you can see that. And now the cap's back on. I'm done with the front lever brake on that. So I collect my wrench, come the other side, and I'm going to do the same here on this one. All right, and this one I usually like to bring the bag up and hang it over this right here. so I can see the clear fluid coming up that long line with a light behind it. I'll set it up, but I'm not gonna show you guys how to pump and everything. You got that figured out. Okay, I've already got this on and open. It's just sitting there. Got my light magnetized to my rotor over there, so it gets the light, and my bag comes up and just hangs there. I'll be able to see the dark fluid coming up, and then I'll see clean fluid. Can you guys see all that? Here, focus, focus. Can you see all that, like little water or junk about in the first inch here? You know, impurities. Yeah. So that was coming up. I could definitely see it. And it was dark. It's already getting clear because, you know, I cleaned all the lines already, you know, on the other side. That's why I do the left side first, then the right side. And then since this is link brake, I'll go to the rear on the rear caliper. Okay, I also like to take my reservoir rubber, pull it all the way out, you know, push it all the way in, and then clean it up and make sure there's no tears in it and it's still flexible. Because if you lose brake fluid as your pucks wear down, this is supposed to come down and extend so it doesn't pull any air in. Okay, that's where I like to fill it up, just so I'm kind of just almost covering the porthole curvature, and if you can, just above that white line. Okay, and I will put a rag around there. Sometimes I fill it up a little too much, and as I put the rubber and the plastic backer and the cap on, it might squeeze a little out. Now it just gets on the paper rag and doesn't get on my paint because I got this right here. And it's always easier if you put that plastic backer in the rubber first and then put it in as a unit, because otherwise you're trying to fight those ridges. Now all there is to put the cap on and torque it down. Always use a JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard screwdriver, on these screws where you're going to put them in, because it won't mess up the screw heads by torquing out. And you don't need them very tight, you know, 5-6 pounds. I'll look for the torque and tell you exactly, but just good firm. And remember, if you work on a Japanese bike, get a set of JIS tip screwdrivers. It'll save your screw heads, because how many bikes have you looked at in the reservoirs and they're all bent up, all the heads are messed up. Now if you see, I had to take the rear tail cowl off. This reservoir looks like new fluid in there, but guess what? I'm going to change it anyway, because it has to go through that front secondary master cylinder up there. I want to make sure that's all clean, so I'm going to suck this out and then refill it with clean stuff and start the process over again. Okay, I'm set up on the CBR. Center right bleed is what you do, and you can already see some has drained down into there, but that's already open because the little check valve, I'm not scared. Got my light so I can see it. I pushed my blue shop towel down in there, swiped it out, made sure everything was clean. There's no gunk on the bottom. And now I'm just going to push that pedal slowly, watching the reservoir level, and hopefully I will not have a... Here, it's easier one-handed. Okay, what happened was I had to really push that down hard. I just replaced the master cylinder on the back of that NC700 because my daughter hadn't ridden it in about 4 years, and it's stuck in here. So now that I pushed hard, I got it going. You can see how that fluid goes almost all the way up just on the rear, all the way up to there after one push than it was down here. So be careful. My fluid is, after 2 pumps, it's gone down about a 1/4 inch. So always watch your reservoir level. Now, it doesn't look that bad, fluid, coming up through here. But it's still got a tinge to it. But I'm looking up here, and this fluid's coming in here, down here, and I can see it coming down through there. So that tells me it's still dirty as it falls through there. You probably can't see this. Can you see that there? Yeah. Can you see the difference? Yeah, you can. That dirty stuff coming down in there. Okay, I took 2 reservoirs. I pushed through the front because I got plenty of brake fluid. And now those are on either side on Honda's Link braking system. The rear pedal is both the inside or the center puck piston. And now I've got the center piston here. And afterwards, then I will do the end one according to the book. And I got my hose coming up so I can see it, and I'll put a light behind it. Okay, because since the line is so short from here down to here, I only used half, but I went to 3/4. Fill it up. Now I'm hooked up to the rear bleeder right over here. And now I'll bleed this one until I get clear fluid out. And then I'll be done with the brakes. Can you see how brown and nasty that old stuff is? That's how the other line was. And I'll go until it's clear. Can you see the fluid difference? Nice and clear with that light behind there. That took about a reservoir full. Okay, now I filled it up to the full line right here. And then put my rubber and my plastic backer in at the same time, and it didn't squish any out. Usually I hold a rag underneath here, in case I do. The thing you have to worry about or be cognizant of is when you go to replace your brakes, okay, or you're pushing out your brake to do a tire, take a rim off and put the rim back on, is this. My brake pads have some wear, so it might have been down in the middle here. And I just filled it up. So there's no real room for this to come back up. So if I'm going to push my pads out and everything and change pads or whatever, I'll take this off and suck a little out. Okay? So when I push my pads, it's got a place to go. Otherwise, you're going to pressurize this. You can't get any more fluid out, and then when you take off the top, it'll blurp right over the edge and you'll have a mess. I can check my pads. I still got pretty good life on here on those pads. You can see that, can't you? Yeah. So I'm not worried about that, but that's just something to be cognizant of when you're doing that. Now let's get set up for the clutch. Okay. Tell you what, this CBR is a lot easier to get to the slave cylinder on the side. The ST1300 is on the back since the engine's spun sideways, and on a Goldwing, it is right up front under the valence underneath. It's a pain to get to, but in this, it's pretty darn easy. Now I've got this already like this, got the cap off. I'm almost embarrassed to show you guys how dark that crap is. But like I said, this bike's been sitting, except for 300 miles last year, 300 miles the year before. Only reason I said is because the rear tire wore out. But I've got a T33 GT on the back. That'll last me. I'm going to take this thing out and have some fun on it this year. So I'm going to suck that out with my Mighty Vac right here. And then I'm going to put new fluid in there. This is already loosened up. And here's the thing about speed bleeders. Here's the company I get them from, the original speed bleeder. Okay, one person can do it, but you see that gray around there? They put a coating compound around there that seals those threads. You don't have to put any Teflon around them. You know, I'm not going to get any money from any of this stuff I do. I just try to help you guys out. But they're a small company just west of Joliet, Illinois, Newark, somewhere, but they're out in the country. And it's not a very big company. I like to support small enterprising companies. And right here at the bottom, you can see, just call, if you don't see your bike listed, because several bikes of mine were older, I just call up, I get a person, and they tell me what I need. I order it. It's in the mail the same day or the next day. So there's your phone number and your website for buying these. And I love them. I've got all my bikes. And if you're worried about how do I switch, well, your reservoir's up here. If you open up your reservoir, right? So then gravity and air can fill in you just pop out your old bleeder, slap the new one in real fast. I usually have a rag around here. And then I just put that in, screw it on down, wipe it all clean, then back it out a quarter, half turn, and I'm ready to go. They're that easy. That's why your reservoirs are always above your bleeder point. All right, so now I'm set up here. I'm going to look for dirty fluid, and here we go. All right, I just got to show you how bad this is. Now, this bike's mostly been sitting here. But you see all that sludge on there covering that window? There's a whole heck of a lot of sludge. You use your clutch a lot more than you use your brakes. So I'm going to have to suck all that out, scoop it out with probably a... but this is not the first time. I went almost 3.5 years. I'm like, oh, I haven't changed it. I pull it out. That's what my clutches look like. It's just on this bike. My other clutches don't look that bad. But you've got to do this. If you don't, you're asking for big trouble. Okay, that was so gunky. I even took the little piece there, the deflector for the return out, and got cleaned up under that. And there it is right there. And I took it out with a O-ring pick. Go to Harbor Freight, get yourself a little set for $5. I picked it out of there. Now I'm going to put it back carefully. Okay, that's set down in there. Now this end right here, okay, it's got 3 little tabs that kind of can bend easily, but when you pick it out, just pick it out to where you get one side up, and then you can slide the whole thing out. Putting it in, you get it even. I hold it by this end right there gently because you don't want to bend it. And can you see the, yeah, you can kind of see the tabs there. Got one at 6 o'clock position, or 3 o'clock if you're looking at the circle, and one at 6 and one at almost 11 o'clock. See that little tab? And you just got to slide it down so they press fit, hold it in place. And that's there so when your fluid returns right here, it hits this and doesn't shoot up and cause bubbles or anything. Okay. Remember what I told you about that return line? It started pushing some of that ugly junk. You can see that coming out of my line, the return. There's a little bubble. There's some garbage out of the line. My clutch was working before this just fine, but burping a little air out because I took so much fluid out. So not really that much. So I'll pump this out, clean this out again, and put new fluid, fresh fluid in there, and pump it all in there. Let's see. Still not getting anything down here. Yeah, that line might need to be blown out and cleared and taken off altogether. Okay, folks, I'm still not getting anything out. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my banjo bolt off right there and see if this line's clogged. If that's not clogged, then I'm going to have to take this off, clean this all out. And that's what you get even if you let your bike sit for 2 to 3 years with no fluid. So I guess this is a good example of why you don't want to do that. So I'll do a quick update, and I'll end this video. It's 25 minutes long. So keep the rubber side down out there, people, and have fun.